The portrayal of Princess Diana's struggle with an eating disorder in The Crown is one of several instances in the past few months that's been opening the gates for talking about eating disorders. During this Canadian Eating Disorder Awareness Week, we're talking to Kyla Fox, who started her own center to help others. Good morning, Kyla.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you again. The last time we talked, it was just before the pandemic's effects really took place, really had an impact in our area. How has the lockdown affected people with eating disorders? Has it made it worse?
Yeah, it significantly increased the amount of people who are suffering with eating disorders and mental health in general. But when it comes to eating disorders specifically, with the lockdown and lack of connection, lack of access to the things that make us feel well, and the people that we rely on to heal us, this sort of day-to-day tasks that we look forward to, what it's done is it's made very central our relationship to food in our body. And we're online a lot, so we're gathering lots of information from influencers and such about what we need to be doing with our body. And it leaves a lot of people feeling deeply preoccupied about what they eat, when they eat, how much they eat, what to do to exercise. And it's a huge focus over the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And even though it's has such a physical manifestation to it, eating disorders are largely a mental health issue, correct?
They are entirely a mental health issue. And so even though, as you said, they show up in food in the body, what they're really about is what's going on with a person at a much deeper level, emotionally, psychologically, what's happened to them in their life, their relationships, their families, their circumstances that they have to face. Those are the things that lead people to then feeling like they need to control food and they need to control their body in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. As someone who has recovered from an eating disorder, are you finding yourself during lockdown going back to behaviors that weren't really the best for you?
Now, I'm very fortunate in that I've been well on my way in my wellness for over 20 years, which is why I do the work that I do now. But certainly this is a very vulnerable time for people. And I think that if you struggled with an eating disorder in the past, or if you're currently on the trajectory of your recovery, given everything that's going on and the lack of control and access to the world, there certainly is an uprise in the resurgence of people relapsing or finding that the need to cope with food in the body is much more prevalent for them.
Mm-hmm. And how is your center, how is it helping people now with, physical distancing? And are you doing a lot of stuff, I imagine, online?
Yeah, exactly as you said. So everything that we do is virtual, so we can treat people actually from all over, which has been actually a great privilege of COVID, if you could believe. It's allowed us to reach people in different ways. And there's been something really interesting about working with people while they're in the comfort of their own space in their own home. For a lot of them, it's actually allowed their recovery to evolve in different ways because they're in their safer spaces and they feel like, they can access their vulnerability easier. So the center is offering fully virtually for everyone.
And how can you, if you're noticing something maybe on a Zoom call or in a phone call, how can you help friends or family who you think might be struggling?
Yeah, it's hard these days because we're not seeing a lot of people.
Yes, we're not seeing them physically.
Exactly. And so one of the things that I would suggest is obviously you can notice as much as you can via the screen or these, drive-by hellos and things. But I think what's probably more important is to think about what you yourself might be noticing about your own suffering. Are you being more preoccupied with food? Are you changing your patterns with food? Do you feel like this incessant noise around your body? Do you feel preoccupied with what your body looks like? Do you find yourself just, not feeling happy, feeling more depressed, not able to get going in the day, feeling like you can't follow even the slightest bit of routine, or going to bed too late or too much? So all of these kinds of life shifts that happen, though they may seem subtle, they're actually really informative of a person's mental health and informative of eating disorders.
Okay, we're going to get people connected with your center through our website, chch.com. Kyla, great talking with you again. Stay well.
You too. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks.